over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Jo. It's just delightful to be here, and my heart is beating, not just because I'm nervous, but like you, Jo, it's just so moving. It's just been fantastic, and lots more to come. Yeah, as well as the Me Too movement, a more recent movement that I've been really drawn by, which I imagine resonates with a lot of you, is the Reclaim These Streets movement in the UK, which for those outside the UK who might not know about, it's come off the back of the really tragic attack and murder of somebody called Sarah Everard, who was quite simply just walking the streets, walking home from a friend's house in London when she was attacked. And there was such an outpouring of stories from women who feel unsafe on our streets. And of course, you know, we need to feel safe, don't we? We need to be able to walk where we want and when we want. And one reason it resonated with me in particular in a slightly different way, linked to my mum's story, was something about needing to walk how we want. And I want to just read a couple of lines from Andrea's medical notes. I got her medical notes, or at least some of them, after she passed. And I do want to just briefly touch on something which I hope isn't too sensitive. But one of her real rock bottom points was in 1979 when her marriage had broken up and she'd lost custody of me and my sister, and she took herself down to Peterborough railway station and jumped. Subsequently, she had to work to learn to walk again with an artificial limb. And as she was trying to kind of recover from her deep distress and trying to walk again, she was assessed by psychiatry, who didn't speak to her but read her notes and decided that she was beyond help because she'd had too many incidents with trains and things. So they literally said, we won't take her as a patient. So she was shoved over to occupational therapy, where she tried to learn to walk again. And the assessment there, and I quote, was, "We feel she's not fully accepted the prosthesis and may present poor mobility to gain sympathy. Her walking pattern is still poor. She tilts." And she was discharged. But being a survivor, she learned to walk again. She did it her way. She tilted. And she took herself to college and she learned to dance. And I think it's really important that we deserve to be safe and supported no matter how we walk. And maybe we, us, they have something to learn from those like Andrea, like you, like me, like survivors who walk it a different way, who want to do things differently, especially when it comes to mental well-being. So this poem is called Tilt. I didn't get to fully connect, unfortunately, with my mum. She was never able to resolve the trauma because she never felt safe under psychiatric care. So this is her talking to me as if we're finally connecting, and it's called Tilt. Wait no longer, cherished child. You're home where you belong, a finding place where lonely doves gather before carrying on, where surely we repair the shipwreck of our dreams when shame soaked through my lifeblood into you, like shattered bones on tracks of steel were ripped apart. How? We couldn't say, we never knew. My chaos and the constant mutilation, empty and carved out like carbons tossed across the concrete from where you could but turn on heel. For those who run the fastest are most lost. Abandoned by the forces that should have made you strong. Confused by those who said there was something organically wrong with me, a chemical imbalance when all along it was to be this haunting counter-narrative, slowly poisoning me. The agony of stories born and festering untold. We cannot help how long it takes for trauma to unfold. For darling, though it's rude to swear, I need to for this line. The brain fuckers fuck us up, and unfucking it all takes time. Then in turn, abuse is met by those who still won't see. Oppression at the heart of labels medically assigned by powers whose purpose to be proven wise masks the bitter twist that they know less than they will ever realize, the dreads of which they smother under their wolfskin vesture, Those munching bulls wary of any sudden gesture of kinship from strangers when our only endeavour is to honour that all of us are in this together. Hold grief in your left hand and gratitude in right. There is no room to carry guilt or blame. We choose our joys and sorrows long before we live them, and to turn back time, I choose them just the same. Remember when we bought a TV dinner? A Chinese takeaway of rice and sweet and sour pork. And there we sat with metal tins at my little wooden table, enchanted by the skills on centre court at Wimbledon that summer that was to be my last. The sadness smashed so deep right through the core. But it marks our capacity for joy, so ours was endless. And side by side, I couldn't have asked for more. To live a life not broken by the system, to live a life not beaten by those who too easily scare, but just to be together with my daughter. That was my life. That was my life right there. Remember me as though we are still dancing, immersed in our electrifying twirl, beholden as we are to no one but each other, sparkling with the spirit of what it is to be a girl. Remember me when dancing with your daughter. In open heart, she hears your every truth, then takes you by the hand to share new rhythms. How bright the future shines, my darling Ruth. Wait no longer, cherished child. Here's where I bid you goodbye. Let wounded souls weep. Every woman must die. But to capture the essence of all that is and once was, to bend into being, to bend into because life is to be taken at the tilt. What use are we if merely to be still, when beyond the wilds at the reaches of the unknown is where we learn to tilt until we lean a little further into all we might become, the edge where I still hover, to will to be your mum. I am a mum who's reaching with you to catch you when you fall, for a life that's taken at the tilt is the place where we stand tall. We are the giants who always remain humble. We are the warriors who dare to leave the shore. We are survivors whose stories we shall honour. We are the people we've been waiting for.